All right, good morning from Israel. I just wanted to give you guys a quick update about what's happening here in Israel. It seems that we have gotten a first volley of an attack from, again, I've been up for over a half hour now, trying to follow the news, trying to follow all the different updates and everything from coming from every direction and different news agencies, whatnot. Um, it seems that what has happened, if you look at the um, the red alert, if you look at the red alert system that basically alerts us when we are under rocket attack, um, that basically what's happening is it seems that we have gotten an attack from the Houthis. So Um, that's from Yemen direction, so just south of Israel, southeast. It seems that we've gotten a barrage of an attack, and that attack was directed towards central Israel. So I actually woke up to the explosions this morning at 6:30, with something rocking you out of bed, so to speak, and very reminiscent to the October 7th attack when we came under rocket attack from the Gaza Strip, and it just rocked the whole country because the rockets were targeting the whole country and including where I live. So we live just in the Jerusalem hills here, the Judean hills outside Jerusalem, and from where I'm at, I could hear um, what seems to be a response. I guess the Iron Dome. We're still trying to figure out what's going on because it's early in the morning, and information isn't flowing as quickly as you'd like it to. So it's like we're trying to catch up with trying to figure out what on earth this was. So later in the day, we're going to probably get um, reports as to what on earth exactly this attack was. But I just wanted to let you know, if you're because I'm getting messages from all over the world from people that are following Israel and have that app on their phones, and they see that we're coming under attack. So they're wondering if we're fine and all that. So yes, my family's fine. We're fine. It doesn't seem, I haven't heard any reports of any Israelis being injured here in central Israel, where it seems that the target of their attack is central Israel. So in other words, what's called the Gush Dan, or the Tel Aviv region, and all the cities in the Tel Aviv area were targeted. When I woke up and ran outside and looked up in the sky to try to figure out what's happening, um, I actually could see what seemed to be a plume, a cloud of a Iron Dome um, um, engagement, I guess you call it, where it had hit whatever was directed towards central Israel. Um, so I could see that in the distance there. It seemed like some little cloud, but then again, I couldn't see all the different strikes or interceptions, since this morning is also an overcast morning. So, the clouds are covering most of the sky, and that little thing that I saw in the sky, it literally disappeared within seconds after seeing that, and that's all I could see visually in my area where I live. But you could hear some pretty loud explosions at 6:30 this morning, around 6:30 a.m. So this is the morning time here. Right now it's 7:22, so almost an hour ago this happened. And like I said, I've been trying to figure out what's happening so I can report it live as it's happening, and to keep people updated and to let them know what is happening here in Israel. So I'm going to take a quick overview here of the news, and we can look at it together, so to speak. Let me see. We'll try to get you updated. So yeah, so the only thing that is being still reported is that it seems that it's the Houthis who fired ballistic missiles. So what's known as surface to surface missiles. Basically, what it means is that they have long range missiles that were directed towards Israel. Um, let me see. Check something here. So yeah, I just wanted to look up the distance. So you're looking at Yemen to Israel is 2,200 kilometers away, which is 1,373 miles. So that's the long range of these missiles that they can reach, and they can fly for farther than this distance, right? So within that distance, you're able to send such a strike. And just Google Yemen if you want to know the region of where these terrorists fired their volley on Israel from. Um, so Yemen is, if you know the Middle East, you basically have Saudi Arabia, which is to the south of Israel, and then it stretches down eastward, right? So this is Israel, and then you have like a landmass that just stretches down towards the Gulf of Aden and the Arabian Sea. So you have Yemen, and you have Oman and the United Arab Emirates, and so on. All of this down to the southeast, just under Saudi Arabia, just below Saudi Arabia. So that's where this volley of rocket fire came from towards Israel. The Houthis are a terrorist group. Sorry, that's some bum here on YouTube. Um, that's a guy that I'm going to debunk later on the podcast. I actually somewhat have, but just to point out some of the lovely stuff that he has to say. So I just came up. Um, yeah, so I have friends in that are following here from South Africa. They're saying that they woke up and saw this video. Yeah, good morning. Appreciate the prayers and support from all over the world, guys. We really appreciate it, because who knows what's going to be the next volley. When I see stuff like this, to me, this is just the beginning of what could be a bigger attack. They're just maybe testing our responses, and tweaking their attack. Here's something I want to point out, by the way, that everybody's shaken by this attack that targeted central Israel, right? It seems that one report I saw, possibly 100 rockets. I don't know where they're getting that information from. I haven't seen that publicized, but I saw somebody in the chat mentioning that. Let's just say that's a number, okay? To me, it's irrelevant, the numbers right now. The fact is that central Israel was targeted and attacked, and that everybody is like, oh my gosh, this is happening. Israel's under attack, right? But here's a question for you. Do you know how many rockets have been fired at northern Israel? Do you know how long northern Israel has been under attack? Crickets, right? I mean, it's like most of the people around the world are completely unaware of the fact that northern Israel has been under constant attacks since the beginning of October 7th, like basically the day after. Okay, if I remember correctly, it's something like October 8th is when Hezbollah in the north decided to join the assault against Israel, and they haven't stopped till today. And that you have roughly over 80,000, okay, 80,000 Israeli residents who have been displaced since the beginning of this war in October 8th, right? So they weren't evacuated immediately, but basically there was a huge and a continuous pounding from of rocket fire of drones, suicide drones that have been pummeling the north, and I mean pummeling the north. So this map of the red alert, where it shows this multiple strike in central Israel, well, in the north, it's been covering the whole of the north, and the amount of destruction that has been happening in northern Israel. Okay, open fields where because essentially this is how our defense systems work, right? Is that they can intercept the attack, but it doesn't mean that shrapnel and debris doesn't come down. And when that is, still piping hot, it can light up open fields and agricultural fields that essentially end up getting burnt up and destroyed. And so we have just unending amounts of agricultural land that has been destroyed, nature reserves, you name it. And then, of course, the after effect of those fires, any structures within that vicinity are going to be destroyed. So this has been happening and is still going on in northern Israel, but the world is silent. Most of the Israelis are silent because most of the population of Israel lives in the area that just got targeted this morning. And that's why you're going to see a greater response even from us, right, locally. So just a little side note as I'm just reporting about this. I want you to be aware that these attacks have been ongoing, and this volley now from the Houthis and the one a few months ago that we actually got from Iran, with hundreds of rockets and ballistic missiles, etc., that were sent our way, and that we were able to intercept the majority of those. These are just volleys of attacks, but in the north, it's been constant. In southern Israel, it's been constant from the Gaza war, okay, that's been happening, because it's a multi-front war as well. Most of what you hear from me is from my interaction in, or my involvement in the ground operations in Gaza, because that's where my unit is being deployed. But units like mine have been deployed in the north, doing similar work that we do in the northern operations. So it's actually a multi-front war. It's the Gaza Strip area that's been threatening all of southern Israel and also central Israel. And then you have the Judea Samaria or West Bank region, where you have terrorist groups that have been engaging with our IDF, and we've had raids to capture and or eliminate, depending on if the terrorists that they're trying to nab decide to go down in a firefight. So then they're not going to make it, right? But it's been very intense battles going on, very intense fighting going on in that region as well. We've had multiple terrorist attacks, shootings of Israeli civilians that travel on the roads to the Jewish communities that are in that area. So we've unfortunately had also casualties from that. And then you've had a continuous bombardment of the northern communities from Hezbollah in the north, collaborating also with Syrians. And here's another fun fact. Fun fact: you have You have the Russian military that has been. I just got photos sent to me from a good friend of mine who has served in the SAS. So that's the British Special Forces. So he sent me photos that came his way of Russian soldiers that are training the Syrian military, okay, and positioning themselves in defensive or offensive, excuse me, offensive positions along our border with Syria. So things are heating up here and have been heating up for nearly a year now. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like our war is over yet. This long drawn war. Um, this is the longest war that Israel has ever engaged in. This is longer than the 48 war. Okay, the war when Israel declared independence in 1948 and came under attack from all over the Arab world, from all around us, and then the wars in the 50s, the Milchemet Atasha, forget what it's called in English, but in any case, so we had those wars, and then we had the 6 Day War, Yom Kippur War, the war with Lebanon in the 1980s, Milchemet Sheleg, we call it, and so on, and then leading up to the pullout in 2000, the pullout of the IDF out of Lebanon, and then essentially making, because what we had is a buffer zone. Okay, so we basically controlled a secure area between us and Lebanon, basically pushing the enemy farther away from our border in order to create safety and security for our northern communities, for the northern Israel. Ever since the pullout in 2000, we have been under constant attack from the Lebanese, not the Lebanese people per se, but the terrorist group Hezbollah, that is trained, funded, and supported by Iran specifically and mainly. And then, of course, today they have a bigger sponsorship. So just like soccer teams or football teams, right? Basketball, whatever. Think about your favorite sport team and think about how do they get money for their sport gear, their training, their staff, everything around it, travels, etc. You're talking about millions, if not billions of dollars, depending on whatever the team is, and that is what keeps them going, right? That's what keeps them professional, right? So imagine you have professional terrorist organizations, professional terrorist groups. That's more or less how it works, right? So the ones that make the most noise, that create the most damage, get the highest budget, okay? And that funding comes from XYZ. So in this case, for Hezbollah in the north and also Hamas, they are heavily funded via Iran. Um, Armaments and weaponry unfortunately, it comes from the war in Afghanistan and the leftover of what the U.S. military left behind from the pullout out of Afghanistan that they did. Was it 2 years ago now? So, yeah, unfortunately, you end up with a lot of mess here in the Middle East, and it's all web connected from all of these terrorist supporting states in the Middle East who have lots of money through oil, through other business developments, and they end up, unfortunately, funneling those riches, that wealth, towards terrorist groups with the intent of erasing the what they call the Zionist state or Israel, the where we live. So Israel, unfortunately, has a lot of enemies here in the Middle East, mainly because we're not Muslim. It's not a Muslim country. It's a Jewish country with Muslims that live in it, with Christians that live in it, with other minorities, Druze, Bedouin, Cherkessians, and the list goes on, of other minorities that are actually protected here, who were targeted by terrorists um, and extremists throughout the years, Muslim extremists mainly, unfortunately, and that's the reality. So that's the region we live in. That's our reality, guys. Um, checking for other updates. Not getting anything new yet. So like I said, all we know is that we have been targeted by ballistic missiles. Oh, interesting. Okay. And maybe this is what I saw and heard, because these are neighboring to us. There's a photo here that's been shared. That it shows. It looks like an escalator, probably from I'm guessing from the public transportation, the train system or something. It doesn't actually say where. Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. It says it in the title. That's funny. So I'm trying to interpret the picture for you guys, and what I'm seeing, and it's in the description. So it says pieces of or parts of the rocket that was knocked out in Modin from the train station in Modin, and so they're relatively close to where I'm living, and that's probably why we heard those explosions and so on from the interception of those missiles. And this is one of the missiles it seems that was taken out. And from what I'm seeing in the photo, it looks to me like the Iron Dome, uh, um, um, like the smart head, I guess it's these are very smart ballistic missiles that are countering ballistic missiles, right? So usually you'll see the remains of the rocket as after it intercepts, like the brains of the rocket essentially, that ends up landing on the ground, and that's what it looks like here. It broke through the glass ceiling or windows or whatever, but it's right sitting on top of the escalator from the train station there. Okay, so also they're saying above Ashdod that there's photos, that and footage from someone that took a video from Ashdod. So yeah, so basically targeting central Israel, and then the surrounding towns and cities. Um, you'll see the debris and the aftermath in those areas, because obviously you're trying to intercept the rockets before they land in their targeted area, and the area that was targeted is central Israel. So that's all we know for now, folks. Um, just checking the comments here. Guys, again, I see a lot of support here, from all over the world, and also from people that I know personally. Thank you guys for your prayers, for your support. Um, when we go after Hezbollah, we have been going after Hezbollah. That's the thing. We have been, but we haven't sent the full military strength towards in engaging with Hezbollah yet. Our generals are kind of holding back on that. We're trying to finish the job in the Gaza Strip, to my understanding, before we move on to another front. You need to remember, Israel's a small country, and we have massive, massive enemies all around. And so we got to utilize our resources, our manpower, in the most efficient and effective way as possible. So that is why, yeah, that's why it takes a little bit of time sometimes. And we have been doing uh, deep behind enemy lines airstrikes with our Air Force that have been doing targeted attacks in Lebanon, in Syria, also in Iran. so so we are responding. It just isn't with the full strength of the IDF. So yeah, we're taking our time, so to speak. But really, it's just strategy, military strategy, and working our way. Let me see if there's check another news resource. Yep, the eh, same reporting, same reporting. All right, guys. So that is my quick update. That is my quick update for you. Also filling in a little bit of the gap of what's not being reported on your news. And yeah, keep us in your prayers, guys. Thank you again for your prayers, your support. I will get back on here if there's anything relevant to share, anything important to share. Um, and if you're not following me on social media, um, then you can go check me out mainly on Instagram and Facebook, where I keep people that follow me posted on what's happening in our lives. The reason why I'm able to report to you right now is because I've been released from our second deployment in the Gaza operations. So we just spent 10 months fighting in Gaza, my unit. So a total of 10 months out of the 11 plus months of this war that's been going on. So we had a short break in the middle there and had a second round where we just got released from that second deployment. So we'll see what the next deployment is going to look like. If we get another one, we'll see. Hopefully, this war will be over before we have to go back to war again and leave our families, leave our jobs, leave all the responsibilities that we have behind. It definitely is taking a toll on a lot of us. Um, I mean, like I said, this is the longest war Israel's ever been engaged in. So it's stretching us as a people on all fronts. If it's family relationships, if it's job, children, you name it. I mean, my kids, after I got out, well, before I got out, one of the hardest things was telling my youngest son that I have to go back, and he was in tears. That I had to leave home again when I had a short home visit, and just each time breaking away from your family like that is very difficult. And trying to explain that to your young children that daddy has to go to war, daddy has to go do this. We also have women who are serving, so imagine they have to leave their children behind to serve and do their duties in the military and so on. That's not easy either. And then there's businesses that are some are just falling apart, right? I mean, because you're the head of your company, you're the or whatever your business is, and or just the business relations with countries that you had a business relations with, for example, like Turkey. So your whole business was founded upon trade with Turkey, and then Turkey is a nation that has joined the support for Hamas and has been basically breaking all business ties with Israel, which is really stupid because a lot of their GPO, I think it's called, a lot of their what they make money off of is through business trade with Israel. And so it's stupid for them. But again, when you're like I said, when you're funded by these terrorist nations that support terrorism, then there's plenty of money to fill in the gap and give incentives to certain countries to do that. But the ones that get affected, like I said, is the Israelis here, right? Because we don't do that. We don't just shun countries because of war or whatever. But a lot of these countries that surround us, they do, and so it affects people. And so, point is, you get the idea that there's unfortunately a lot of hurt here. You have, like I said, over 80,000 Israelis that have been displaced in the north, and I'm trying to think of that link I can give you guys that will help you uh, stay posted on the developments of all that, because there is where's that map? I'll find it for you guys, and I'll put that here in the chat. This is a really good resource for anybody who wants to know what's happening. Let me see. I'll find that right here in a second. Yeah, here we are. Can get that where I can share it with you. There we are. So this right here, this will give you the numbers so you can understand the impact of this war. It's one of the best resources to know numbers. Okay, how many soldiers have fallen during this war? How many civilians have been targeted, and so on. The impact on the northern Israel, right? So, like I said, about 80 plus thousand have been displaced. We have tens of thousands of Israelis flying, also not just staying in Israel, but just leaving the country altogether. So you have tens of thousands of Israelis who have left the country. So I know that many of them are in Thailand, Europe, in different countries, U.S., etc. I mean, like people have just left the country because they can't handle the pressure of this constant attacks. And so just imagine that you have over 100,000 Israelis essentially displaced and that have left the country. Yeah, and as I'm speaking now, Hezbollah is joining the volley. So here we have another volley coming from and targeting the north. Like I said, that gets ignored by the news. The world doesn't talk about it, and that's just now live coming under attack. It's 7:52 here in Israel, 7:52 a.m. in the morning, and being targeted in the north. So that's what I want you guys to hopefully walk away with and understand that we try to keep a relative norm here in Israel. A lot of the country does have a relative norm, so to speak, but we're a country that has a cloud of knowing that we're in war in different fronts in different parts of the country are at war with terrorists that simply want us eliminated. And as you hear these sympathizers on the streets protesting, claiming from the river to the sea, well, a simple question that people need to ask them is, Okay, from the river to the sea, which river, what sea? Because based on that claim, then you're essentially a terrorist sympathizer. You're sympathizing with terrorists who are terrorizing a legitimate country that has a democracy, that has rule of law in it, that has the protection of minorities in it. Unlike any other country in the Middle East, the Western dream for Middle Eastern countries that were created post World War One. Okay, so after World War One, most of the countries that are created around us, including Israel, was the fruit of post World War One war, and then uh, other countries like Israel post World War Two. But the beginning, the seed of the creation of the state of Israel started post World War One, after the British had taken over the land of Israel, at the time known as the British Mandate of Palestine. They controlled also Transjordan at the time, and that was in 1717. And then in 1917, forgive me, in 1917, and then in 1920 there was the San Remo Convention, where they convened, or the San Remo Conference, where the League of Nations, okay, the ones who were the victors of World War One, they convened to decide what is going to be the fate of this land. And what they decided and deemed, including Jordan, was to be the future state of the Jewish people. That was what was decided, and it was officiated and finalized in 1922. 2 years later, it was finalized. That was the final agreement. And from that point on until now, the Arab world is in uproar against Israel, against this democratic country who follows rules and laws. And yet the world media and opinion makers, okay, or world leaders, okay, continuously shun Israel, continuously blame Israel, that we're the aggressors, we're the ones who are the problem. And that's insane. It's turning it on its head. That is absolutely insane. Okay. So this is a democratic country, right, that is under attack. Our democracy is under attack. When you go to the streets and claim from the river to the sea, you're literally supporting the genocide of Jews in our only safe haven in the world, because the European nations, they treated us horribly. Pogroms and attacks against us. The same in the Middle East. We were dhimmi in the Muslim nations. We're dhimmi people. Okay, you can look that up. I'm not going to take a long time trying to explain all these concepts to you. But that is the reality of the state of Israel. That is the reality of why we're here, what we're fighting for. And for people to oppose us and oppose our desire to defend ourselves and defend our freedoms, defend our democracy, defend the only Jewish safe haven in the world, in our ancestral homeland, that everywhere you dig here, you just discover more and more Jewish history, Israelite history, from the founding and the starting of the nation of Israel, the Israelite tribes, right? From all the way back to Abraham. So that's what you'll find when the people of Mer don't oppose you, man. That's true. And so, but that's the thing, is that you have a silent minority in the world that is hating on us and going, like I said, to the streets. And so what you need to do if you engage with these people, first of all, keep in mind that a lot of them become very violent. So these are anarchists. These are violent people. So my suggestion to you, to avoid a physical altercation, if any of them are willing to listen at all, just ask them simple questions like that. Great, from the river to the sea. What river, what sea? What are we talking about? What are you guys protesting for? Like, ask in a most naive way. Don't be aggressive in your questioning. That's what I do, by the way. I've done that many times when I've seen protests here in Israel. They're stupid, and have no logical sense behind it. And I go to the protesters and I just, smile and act very naive, okay, and just ask very naive questions, so to speak, right? Which are really targeting the stupidity behind what they're protesting for. And that's what I like to do, right? Non-aggressive. You don't have to get aggressive with these people. There's no point you're not going to win an argument being aggressive. But for them to think, right? And I've had people, like I said, when I tried it myself, my advice, you'll notice the people questioning themselves. They're kind of like, well, I didn't say, and then I hear them say, well, I didn't say I'm a da da da, right? And I'm like, I never said you were. I just smile back. I said, I didn't say that. I didn't accuse you of that. You're the one that just said that. It's like they start to recognize their stupidity if they're smart. If they're not, and they're just useful idiots, then they have no clue. They have no clue at all. I mean, not at all. They just got an email. They in most cases, the majority just got a message or through social media or whatever, and they just came to join a cause that they have no clue about, but they've been targeted and they've been groomed through social media. And then of course the organizers, they're getting a lot of money. They're getting paid well by different entities. We won't get into that again. That's a whole other subject matter. But this is the silent minority, because most people in the world are normal people who just want to live their lives and could care less about going to a protest, could care less about going and creating chaos and anarchy on their street, in their streets, in their cities. But these people, that's what a lot of them are. And if you do engage with anyone at work or wherever, and they make these claims from the river to the sea, then you can just tell them, say, hey, here, show them the red alert and say, you see this? This is hundreds of rockets fired at civilians from another country, from a country that's 1,300 miles away from Israel, in miles, over 2,000 kilometers away from Israel. I mean, what do they have to do? Like, what? Okay. When was the last time your country got attacked? Let's say Mexico to United States, or Canada towards the United States, or United States to Canada, right? And vice versa. When was the last time that ever happened? It doesn't. Any country in Europe, right? When was the last time England came under attack from Sweden? Okay. But that's the equivalent. If those countries were firing rockets at you, what would they be? What would be the response? And that's what the IDF is doing. We're responding. We're defending our people. That's why it's called the IDF, Israel Defense Force. Israel, the people of Israel, Defense Force. That is what we are. Literally, that's what we are. And it turns out we don't just defend our own people, we're also defending the enemy. We're protecting and defending, in at least in my involvement in Gaza, protecting and defending the Gazans from the Hamas terrorists. That's literally what has been our part of our responsibility with the military operations, is the safe travel of civilians from place to place in Gaza, getting them out of the areas that we're targeting the terrorists. And then the terrorists are doing the very opposite. They're trying to push citizens into the battle space, and then claiming that we're the monsters. And then these useful idiots, as I call them, they believe it, right? They believe the footage that they're seeing, they're watching and seeing, and that's just ridiculous. But that's the reality. That's what we're up against. So, any case, guys, I'm going to sign off. I think I've said enough here this morning. Hopefully this gives you some context. Please share this video with your friends. Social media is completely blocking me. They're shadow banning me. They're preventing me from doing lives. This is one of the only platforms that I'm able to do a live on. I have many more followers on other social media platforms, but they won't let me do lives anymore. and they're blocking any future followers. It's like my following has gotten to a screeching halt nearly a year ago since the war began. It's like, nope, you can't grow. Your reach can't grow. So the only way that people are going to hear truth from here is if you share it with your friends. If you don't share this, it's not going to get out. That's just the way it is. That's the way the algorithm is protecting the masses from hearing truth. If I had ponies behind me and kittens and talking about just nonsense, so to speak, or a cooking show or whatever, I imagine that those are going to get widespread viewership and interest and whatever. But those are things without content. And when you have things that have actual content, and it's combating lies, then usually that's what's going to get censored, and then people don't see it, and they're like, "Well, I didn't hear, I haven't seen." Well, I know that. That's because there is a targeted agenda to prevent truth from spreading on the internet. So you need to be responsible that when you receive that truth, when you receive that information, even if it's not 100% true, because again, it's not like everything I'm saying is 100% truthful. It's to the best of my knowledge of the information that I have, that I've processed, is what I'm giving out. It doesn't mean that I'm 100% correct on everything I'm saying, right? Just to be clear. Um, Disclaimer, right? But my intent is to spread truth. And that's the huge difference. When the intent of others is to spread misinformation and the demonization of Israel. And that's what we're up against. God bless you guys. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your prayers. And you'll be hearing from me if there's anything relevant to share. Until then, shalom from Israel.